Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. U.S. President Donald Trump has left the G7 summit in Canada ahead of schedule. Now, as a result, he will not be present in upcoming meetings, including expected talks with President Zelenskyy. As G7 leaders convene in Canada, the summit faces divisions over trade, global security, and the war in Ukraine. The U.S. president's remark calling Russia's 2014 expulsion a mistake have also unsettled the group's unity, calling into question the bloc's coherence. Joining us today on TVP World to break down the economic implications is Felix Schmidt, a senior economist at Berenberg. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Hello, thanks for hosting me.
So the most recent news we have seen President Trump walking out of the meeting. Now, some statements are saying that this has much to do with trying to negotiate a ceasefire in Iran. Trump himself says that it's much more than that. Do you have any theories as of the actual reason why he left the meeting?
It's hard to say. Macron also said it has to do with a ceasefire, and then Trump directly come back at him at X and saying Macron got it once again wrong. So it could be more. I think the pressure on Iran is very high at the moment. There are for sure some talks, diplomatic talks in the background, and I think the US would like to present themselves as the one who are organizing a deal and a new agreement about the nuclear program of Iran.
Right now, CNN is just reporting that Trump has said something about being tired. Do you think that this has anything to do with perhaps a negotiation isn't really going the way that he is hoping?
Yeah, I think he puts a lot of pressure, him and obviously Israel, putting a lot of pressure on Iran, while Israel using military force. Trump is stating that he is tired, that things can go way worse for Iran. To put up that much pressure, then Tehran is really willing to talk. I think that's at the moment the strategy.
Mm-hmm. And also, he's talking about tariffs as well. Do you think that this also plays into the kind of discussions that were had during the G7 meeting?
Yeah, I mean, tariffs would have been one of the big topics at the G7 if he hadn't left earlier. Everybody was interested to talk to Trump, the U.S. delegation, about the tariffs, about the upcoming end of the tariff pause in July. But now, given that he left earlier, unfortunately, there was not much time to talk about it. Some people like the leader of Mexico had no time to talk to Trump about that because he left earlier. So this topic was not really touched given the early leave of Trump.
Right, so a lot seems to be left on the table. And in the last day, discussions seem to also be dominated with the topic in the Middle East. Do you think at this point, it does seem like the only joint statement is going to be like a strongly worded condemnation coming out from the world leaders. At this point, is it fair to say that this G7 meeting is pretty much a bust?
You can see the glass half full or half empty. At least there was one joint statement. It's a very short one on call for de-escalation in the Middle East. There was no escalation like last time Trump was in Canada for the G7. He left also early, but then he called Trudeau dishonest and weak. So this we haven't seen this time. This time he left, let's say, in peace. So yeah, there is a short statement and he left kind of in peace. That's the plus. The minus, obviously, yeah, he left earlier. It's kind of, it's a symbol, no? He is leaving to care about the stuff which US is interested the most at the moment, and all the others, G6 are sitting now alone in Canada and can take care of the rest, discuss the rest among themselves. That's obviously the minus. Plus, the first statement when Trump basically walked in and he said it was a big mistake to exclude Russia from the G7. That obviously was also a difficult start. So half full, half empty. In these times where with Trump everything can happen, eventually that there was no big escalation is already a plus, but overall this is of course a little bit disappointing.
Right, of course, Trump's comment on Russia did ruffle some feathers. And going into the G7, one of the more highly anticipated topic is whether or not the oil price cap on Russian oil can be achieved. Now, with the complication in the Middle East and that already impacting oil prices, do you think this is still going to go ahead? Is it going to change the dynamic and calculation in any way, shape, or form?
I think this is a topic which will go ahead for the next weeks and months, and in Iran maybe it will calm down already in the next weeks. So I think the idea to put more pressure on Russia, it's an important one, will be pushed by the European Union further. But of course also here America is a key player, and maybe when things cool a little bit down in the Middle East, then the U.S. delegation Trump will have more time or is more willing to also think about more pressure on Russia. But this topic obviously at the moment took a little bit the back seat.
Right. And it does seem like going into the discussion, America is a bit more reluctant to impose sanctions on Russia, Trump himself calling it a more complicated matter. Do you think this also will hurt the unity in terms of the G7 or any allied countries being able to actually enforce such sanctions, given that some of the major partners are not really on board with it?
Yes, of course, to have sanctions which are really working, it's very important to have the US on board. It's the biggest economy, it's the most powerful country. That's highly important. We will have a NATO summit coming up also this month. Maybe there is more time to talk something on sanctions on Russia. But the European Union, together with, of course, United Kingdom, they can work out something by themselves. But it is always important to have the US on board to make it more strong, these actions.
Right. And within this G7 meeting, we've also observed kind of a toggle war between how Trump likes to do deals as opposed to the European Union, which usually preferred a more multilateral approach when it comes to trade negotiations. Trump seems to like to deal bilaterally with countries individually. Now, recently, we see Trump and Starmer coming to a conclusion, signing some sort of deal. Is it a sign that the U.S. president is getting things his way of doing things?
Yeah, I think with the UK it was kind of easy. You know, they have old relation, good relations. It's not an important trading partner. Also for the UK, it's not so much to lose. It's not a great deal for the UK, by the way, but that was kind of a low-hanging fruit. With the European Union, obviously, way more complicated, way more important topics, way more member states. How the European Union works, I think you are right. Trump doesn't like that. It's many member states. It's slowly. It's very bureaucratic. It's not. He likes to make quick deals like he used to do when he was in business and just talking to one person and then making a deal. But this is not how it works with the European Union. I think Trump doesn't like it, and that's why it also takes a little bit longer. But at the end, maybe then the deal will be more, worked out more in detail and a little bit more stable, even than just handshake after 10 minutes talk, and that's it.
Right. Now, Ursula von der Leyen also kind of wrote on social media saying that he's just working with the U.S. president and they're trying to accelerate things going forward as well. On the issue of trade, quoting the Ursula von der Leyen, they've instructed the team to accelerate their work and reach a good and fair agreement. Do you think that that's an attempt from the Europe side to try to get Trump into this more kind of multilateral format of a trade agreement and still deal with Europe in a way that could mostly be more appeasing to the U.S. president? Yeah, I mean, one hope is eventually that Trump even gets a little bit tired about this trade talks with the European Union and will leave it just to his staff, because I think on a lower level there are some experts, and if they can just do the negotiation without Trump interfering, it would be maybe easier, and then presenting a result, and he is maybe then already focusing on other topics, and he will say, okay, done, great deal for America. So eventually it's even better if Trump is not too directly involved, because if he
gets the idea that he wants to achieve X, Y, Z, he will push for that no matter what. So maybe it's even better if this also takes a back seat and the experts on a lower level will do the negotiation between the US and the European Union.
Right, it does seem like a very interesting approach, perhaps kind of circumventing some of the nitty-gritty and coming to sort of a way that Trump likes to do deals. That's a very interesting perspective. And well, thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being with us on TVP World.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Cheers. And thank you for tuning into this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.